Hello and welcome to another installment of Liberty Nation's Swamponomics videocast. I am Andrew Moran, Ellen's economics correspondent. Each week, I dive into the morass of top economic news stories and fish out compelling narratives, or I retrieve fallacies that have been accepted as conventional wisdom by the swamp creatures for years. This week is Russia dumping dollars for gold. For the first time on record, Russia now holds more gold than US dollars in its international reserves that total nearly $600 billion. According to data from the Central Bank of Russia, gold accounted for 23% of the institution's stockpile at the end of June 2020. The share of US dollars assets fell to 22%. Just 2 years ago, the greenback represented close to half of the central bank's reserves. This should not be surprising data if you monitor the markets. In recent years, President Vladimir Putin outlined a strategy to de-dollarize the Russian economy as part of efforts to reduce its vulnerability to US sanctions and diversify its rainy day fund. Indeed, if you comb through Moscow's international reserves, it also has a considerable amount of euros, Chinese yuan, and other currencies like the yen. One of its biggest buys over the last 5 years has been gold, spending approximately $40 billion to build its gold inventories. Following the crash in crude oil prices, officials suspended their gold buying operations to push bankers and miners to export more and import more foreign currency to offset energy markets' bear market. Like the Swiss National Bank, Russia's central bank has profited from diversification. Gold has skyrocketed over the last year. The euro has surprisingly strengthened in recent months, the yuan is trading at its best level in 3 years, and the US dollar index has traded in a range of 90 to 103 points. Is the Russian central bank the most competent one in the world? Considering how reckless these institutions have been over the last years, the bar has been set pretty low. Still, Moscow deserves a solid B-, and you could make the case that central bank chief Elvira Nabiullina could win some type of Central Banker of the Year award. But since Russia is public enemy number one in the US and Europe, it would be rigged against her. That said, Russia's de-dollarization campaign has been part of a broader initiative worldwide to kick the dollar dependency. Liberty Nation has been routinely reporting since the end of 2017 about the multiple countries that are trying to minimize the dollar's hegemony and international reserves. Essentially, Russia, Iran, China, and a couple of other adversaries have declared war on the dollar. In fact, even several of its allies have been quietly reducing its reliance on the currency that many had considered to be as good as gold. Some examples of the firing shots in the dollar war? Well, for instance, in October 2014, China and Russia signed a 3-year deal, a ruble-yuan currency swap agreement worth up to $25 billion, aimed at increasing trade with these currencies. A few years later, the Russian government approved legislation that made the ruble the main currency of exchange at all Russian seaports. Tehran has been clamping down on dollar trading. Beijing's central bank digital currency is a tool being used for cross-border transactions and as part of the nation's efforts to increase the yuan's position in international reserves and global transactions. You can't blame nations for ditching the buck. In addition to Washington's constant crusades and interventions on the world stage, Uncle Sam has been fiscally irresponsible, abandoning any semblance of financial management or fiscal responsibility. With Joe Biden promising to spend trillions of dollars more in his first term, inflation concerns are running rampant, which you can see in gold markets, and rightfully so. As Congress spends more, the Federal Reserve prints more. This not only decimates the value of the United States dollar, it also leads to soaring price inflation, which you're beginning to see in stuff that consumers need, like food, energy, and shelter. Even if the dollar is booted off its mantle, it will only be replaced by another fiat currency. If Beijing, Moscow, or any other power had triggered a campaign to adopt money that is backed by something tangible, like gold, then perhaps this would be a worthwhile pursuit. The only thing that central bankers, planners, and globalists are achieving is swapping one fiat currency for another. The dollar's collapse is inevitable. It might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow, but soon, and for the rest of fiat monetary system's life. Here's looking at you, Federal Reserve note. We'll always have 1971. That's it for me this week. Please read my full Swamponomics column where I discuss cell phone rates and taxes, China's exports in 2020, and the social media industry losing billions since banning President Donald Trump. Thank you.
Go deeper on the topic discussed in this video, head on over to one of these links here or go to our Liberty Nation Roku channel. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for Liberty.